The 155mm round, which consists of the detonating fuse, projectile, propellant, and primer, is essentially a very large bullet. One of the most popular artillery ammunition used in the fight in Ukraine is the 155mm howitzer round. More than 1.5 million rounds have already been delivered by the US to Ukraine, but Kyiv is still looking for more. The 155mm round, which consists of the detonating fuse, projectile, propellant, and primer, is essentially a very large bullet. Each round is roughly 2 feet, 60 centimeters, long, around 100 pounds, 45 kilograms, in weight, and has a diameter of 155 millimeters, or 6.1 inches. They are employed in howitzer systems, which are towed heavy weapons that may be distinguished by the range of the angle of fire that their barrels can be set to. The 155mm shells can be built in a variety of methods, including those that utilize high explosive materials, precise guided systems, high fragmentation, or armor-piercing capabilities. Smoke rounds to hide troop movement and light rounds to reveal an enemy's position have both been used as variants in the past. The 155mm round and the similar Soviet-era 152mm rounds are so popular because they provide a good balance between range and warhead size, said Ryan Brobst, a research analyst at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. If you have too small a shell, it won't do enough damage and go as far. If you have a larger shell, you can't necessarily fire it as far. This is the most common middle ground, and that's why it's so widely used. According to a statement made to the Associated Press by Carrie Pleasant, historian for the Army's Joint Munitions Command, the French were the ones to design the 155mm round in response to the protracted trench fighting of World War I. Early versions of the round featured gas shells. According to Pleasant, as World War I dragged on, the 155mm gun emerged as the Allies' most popular artillery weapon, and the U.S. Army later chose it as its default field-heavy artillery weapon. For World War II, the American military deployed its own variant, the M1. The 155mm became the standard for artillery in the new NATO alliance after the war. By the Korean War, the round had undergone yet another modification, this time adding a cluster munition type. The 88 submunitions in the round were scattered across a large area to damage personnel, equipment, and vehicles, according to Pleasant. Depending on the type of cartridge and firing system utilized, howitzer rounds can reach objectives up to 15 to 20 miles, 24 to 32 kilometers, away, which makes them extremely valuable to ground forces for eliminating adversaries from a safe distance. Adversaries don't have much warning of it coming. And it's harder to hide from incoming rounds that are arcing in from the top, which makes it highly lethal, Brobst said. According to Ukrainian parliamentarian Alexandra Ustinova, a member of the country's Wartime Monitoring Committee, 155mm rounds are being fired in Ukraine at a pace of 6,000 to 8,000 per day. They are dwarfed by the estimated 40,000 Russian version howitzer rounds that have been launched at them, she told reporters at a recent German Marshall Fund event in Washington. In order to maintain the flow of weapons and ammunition into Ukraine, the Pentagon previously disclosed how many rounds were included in each security support package. In February, though, it ceased mentioning how many 155mm rounds were sent in each container, citing operational security. However, the Pentagon claims that in total, since Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, it has sent more than 160 155mm howitzers, more than 1.5 million 155mm rounds, more than 6,500 precision-guided 155mm rounds, and more than 14,000 155mm remote anti-armor mine (RAM) systems. A 155mm shell packed with 4 mines that scatter on the ground and can obliterate a Russian tank if it drives over them. Howitzers have also been supplied by other nations, although Kyiv has persistently requested more. Ukrainian officials were asking for up to 1,000 artillery systems as of last year in order to drive back Russian soldiers. Yair Cherniv, a member of Ukraine's parliament, told reporters at the German Marshall Fund event that his country will probably need to fire 7,000 to 9,000 155mm shells each day as it gets ready for an aggressive counteroffensive this spring. To ensure that ammunition reaches Ukraine in time for the anticipated Ukrainian counteroffensive, the Biden administration has recently used the Presidential Drawdown Authority to send rounds straight from U.S. military stockpiles to Ukraine rather than having to wait and purchase them from defense companies. In order to maximize damage and minimize the number of rounds required to take out a target, the U.S. has also been training Ukrainian troops in Germany on how to use the 155mm rounds more effectively in combined arms tactics. These tactics involve coordinating strikes with targeting data provided by forward-based troops and other armored systems.